Coming at you live from all over Ohio. A Cleveland Browns podcast full of laughs, rants, fun, and stats. A place where all Browns fans' voices are welcome and heard. A show that aims to inform and entertain you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Barking Browns Show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in. It is episode 93 of the Barking Brown Show. I'm your host, Jacob. That is my co-host, Mr. Nick Carnes. Nick, how are you this evening?
I'm technical difficulty shooting right now because I'm looking for our show on the network Twitter and not finding it.
So a little busy right now, a little preoccupied to begin the show.
I'm working on it, though.
We're getting there. We are brought to you tonight and every week by our friends over at Homage Apparel. I love this shirt, and I know I've worn it on like the last 3 or 4 episodes, and Nick's worn his. I think the last couple. You've worn that one the last couple as well. Mm-hmm. I've got the old school Brownie the Elf, and I didn't have enough orange in the wardrobe, so I went orange. But they do have this shirt in brown as well. But if you check out the link down below or in the descriptions wherever you may be watching us, we have a link to them as well. If you guys are watching us on Twitter, we thank you. If you want your comments to be seen, please go to YouTube or Facebook, as we cannot see Twitter comments live. Okay.
I want to say, Jacob, I was watching the Cavs win yesterday, which, I mean, I love this NBA Jam shirt because Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell are just trading threes. Life is going well. I bet on the Cavs yesterday, made a little bit of cheddar there. Thanks, Cavs. But it was really cool because I saw in one of the crowd shots that somebody was wearing this NBA Jam shirt. And I was like, hey, I have that shirt. And, it's like we talk about this all the time. So it was really cool to see that out and about. And I've seen
it a couple of times. I actually saw somebody wearing the Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb one at Walmart the other day. That was pretty cool.
Okay.
Because I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen just any random person, down in my neck of the woods that was wearing it. I was like, oh.
Yeah. So I just, I haven't done my full due diligence on getting Cavs games so far, and we're quickly running out of seasons. I've only been to one so far this year. So I'm going to try and change that, and I'm going to be looking out for a lot of stuff because these are my favorite, man. They're my favorite. Can't recommend them enough. I thought it was funny, and I wanted to share.
I have not been to a Cavs game since 2018, and that was the only Cavs game I've been to. So we were going to try to make that happen and try to get up there. Tonight's show, Josh has joined us already in the comments. We always appreciate you being here, my friend. We are going to start talking about free agency that starts in a little bit over a month now. The draft is about a month or so after that. So we're a little less than 3 months away. Is that right? March. Yeah. Middle of March. And then about 6 weeks after that, the end of April is when we'll talk about the NFL draft. I have some draft stuff we'll talk about at the back end of this. I did a film room with about Auburn's Derick Hall, the edge rusher from Auburn. I'll talk about him in a film room that I put up on Browns Wire at the back end of the show. And we'll talk about kind of that, but we're going to start here with free agency. And maybe we'll talk about the Super Bowl, maybe top 5 beverages will come at the end of the show. We'll see. We'll see where we go for that. So let's start free agency. So Nick and I have brought a predetermined list here of 5 free agents that we would like to see in Cleveland. Now, my list, if they get one of these guys, they might not go after another one of these guys because some of them play similar, if not the exact same position. So you're going to see something like that. And I'm sure Nick has the same thing. So I'm not saying that they should sign all 5 guys because it might not make sense, but they're the 5 guys that I would like them in some way, shape, or form to pursue. So anyway, Nick, we will start with your list. We'll start 5. You don't even have to necessarily do it in any sort of order if you don't want to, but let's start off with the first guy on your list.
You know what? My list will have a slight bit of a theme tonight, and so we'll see that as we go. But my first guy is an old friend of the Cleveland Browns, and he is none other than Carl Nassib. We haven't seen him in a little bit, and he's been to a couple places. He's been to Las Vegas and Tampa Bay. He had 3.5 sacks last year. He's still 29 years old, I believe. He's been a guy that has had some production over the course of time, and I just think, you know what, the Browns traded for Chase Winovich, who I'm not positive is here next year.
He's a free agent.
Okay. And so I think you kind of brought him in to be that type of guy that would help you give some pass rush. And, obviously he was injured and that didn't really materialize. I think Carl Nassib is still somebody that does provide some pass rush. And on top of that, he had last year, I'm looking here, well, a little bit less than I thought. He had 23 tackles in 13 games played. So not huge, but I think you could use him as one of those cheap rotational guys that the Browns very much need, because there's a lot of questions on this defensive line. So welcome back home, Carl Nassib.
Carl Nassib is a name that really necessarily hasn't popped up on my radar very much, but I mean, he's probably not somebody that's going to cost you a lot of money. So I don't necessarily have any kind of issues with that. If you're like, yeah, we're going to do Carl Nassib here. It's like, that's fine.
Where I was going with it. Like I figure the Browns are going to have to be choosy about where they spend their money. People act like they have no cap space. That's not true, but they're still going to have to be careful. So I think, a lot of my guys, I think on this list are going to be on the cheaper side, just because we're aware of that and not exactly sure where Andrew Berry wants to go with his money. So I think Carl Nassib makes sense from price to production standpoint.
Yeah, I think so. I think for as a rotational player, I don't have any kind of issues with that. So I'll start on the edge, and it's a guy that I don't know why they would necessarily allow him out of town, but it's Arden Key from Jacksonville. I think is a very underrated kind of player because doesn't have a ton of the big splash, not as many sacks as you would want, 11.5 sacks over the last 2 years. But I will say in the last 2 years, he did register 80 quarterback pressures in the past 2 seasons. Combined to go with 11.5 sacks. So you're looking at a guy that, I mean, I'm just saying, if you had 80 quarterback pressures opposite Myles Garrett the next couple of years, you'd be feeling pretty good. He's very explosive off the line of scrimmage. He does have the ability to go seamlessly between speed and power, but he is definitely a more of a finesse rusher. And he's a guy that can burst off the line of scrimmage and he can get back there, in a hurry. He signed a 1-year, $4 million deal this year down in Jacksonville. So I'm not thinking had a pretty good year. I wouldn't call it a great year, but he was good. He was more productive than just about any other Browns pass rusher not named Myles Garrett last season in what he did do in Jacksonville. And I think, and Jacksonville doesn't have a Myles Garrett on the other side. So you can kind of think that over in your head about what it would look like if Arden Key had a lot less attention and he was going opposite Myles Garrett. And I think you would get more production from him than anybody that's currently on the roster. Although I think guys like Alex Wright and Isaiah Thomas will probably take at least a little bit of a step forward. I expect them both to, but you will be able to see that, and I think the pairing there would just be a very beneficial one. So Arden Key makes the list to start it off tonight.
I like that too. I'm hoping that this is the offseason, and maybe it's Alex Wright. That's a possibility, but there's got to be somebody that's going to be consistently across from Myles Garrett moving forward in this window that they're aiming for. And so Arden Key makes a lot of sense there. I like it, Jacob. As far as my next one, I have an old friend of Deshaun Watson's. And Jacob, I think this will make you happy because we know that maybe we're not all thrilled with where the tight end room is so far. So it is none other than Jordan Akins, who did play with Deshaun Watson. And last year for the Texans, he caught – sorry, I should know this, but I don't know. He caught 5 touchdowns for the Texans last year. He had the average yards of reception of 13.4. So he's a guy who it looks like he gives you a little bit more of dynamic play down the field. And I think, we all can agree that the Browns need as many field stretchers as they can. And I'm not trying to say Akins is that guy, but just has some ability and has a rapport with Deshaun from the last time they were both in Houston. So I think that could make a lot of sense because you signed Jesse James last year. That really was So I think they're still looking for the 3-man rotation at tight end and I think Jordan Akins makes a lot of sense there.
I think his best year was with Watson, and it was kind of interesting because he's not a blow you away guy in any like athleticism measures or anything like that, yet he can still be pretty productive. When you look at his numbers compared to like what Harrison Bryant gave you and you really got nothing out past that, a little bit from Pharaoh Brown and that kind of thing. But it's just a situation where you're like, when Njoku was down last year, you had no threat at tight end. And you've got to have somebody that can at least be a threat. And it's not going to be on the level that David is, but it's going to be a threat. And that's all Jordan Akins would be, is just a little bit of a threat because of the talent around him. But like, I have no qualms with that. I would very much enjoy that. I'm going to go with the first big guy of the night, because I know there's always going to be some big guys on here and some things like that. So we're going to start with Sheldon Rankins from the Jets, originally a 12th overall pick in 2016 for New Orleans. Wasn't quite what they would want him to be necessarily over the couple of years. That's why he ends up finding his way in New York. 6'2", 305 pounds, 73.1 PFF grade this year. 26 stop tackles from the defensive tackle position. I don't have it handily. I'm willing to bet the Browns did not have 26 stop tackles from the position total last year. I'm willing to bet that. They probably have 15 to 20. They might be in that range, but I feel like Sheldon Rankins probably puts it right around what that whole group did last year. I would have to pull up the numbers, but I just know that they were abysmally bad. Anyway, 25 pressures, quarterback pressures, 4 sacks. A little bit better in run defense than he is in pass rush. He's 305 pounds. He doesn't give up a lot of room. He plays with great leverage. He's what the room was not last year. And I've got something else written down. I'm looking at the wrong one. No wonder. I'm not even looking at I had the wrong tab up. Not the Sheldon Rankins stats. That stuff was all correct. 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He's just what they don't have, man.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to cost you a ton of money. He didn't sign for a big contract in New York this year. So I think, again, this is a guy that does what you just aren't able to do. And yeah, I mean, he solves those problems there in Sheldon Rankins.
I like what you're saying, and it's no secret how bad the Browns did. So the Browns need a defensive tackle, well, multiple help along the defensive line. So I'm going to go there next. But I see that we have some comments here. Andrew is talking about Hayden Hurst. And Andrew, I'm not sure how Jacob feels about this, but I'm just going to say that I feel like Hayden Hurst performed himself into a contract that the Browns can't afford. Paying David Njoku what they are. That's just my initial thought, because I mean, hey, if they could have Hayden Hurst, he was productive for Cincinnati last year. I think he was a really nice addition to their offense and what they're trying to do. So I'm not sure where you're at, Jacob, but that's just my thought, is that I don't know that the Browns can put more significant money into tight end.
So there's this thing that Jack Duffin has done over at the OBR that I think is really important to kind of look at. And that is that the Browns have like 6 or 7 players that currently have double-digit million, that they are owed double-digit million per season on offense. They have 7 guys that make double digits. The 2 Super Bowl teams don't have 7 combined. Like you're looking at a lot of money already there. So if you're going to sign a guy like Hayden Hurst, you've got to get rid of somebody. Like it's just the only way that stuff happens. It's like these trades for Brandon Cooks and DeAndre Hopkins. Only way those things are happening is you've got to get somebody off the books.
Yeah.
Because you just can't find any other kind of way. Njoku makes all this money. Teller makes all this money. Batonio makes all this money. Conklin makes all this money. Amari does. Watson does. The list. Nick Chubb is. So you're looking at all these guys, and you're like, they cannot have 8 of the 12. 8 players on offense. 12, 11. 8 of the 11 players on offense cannot be making double-digit millions.
Yeah.
And you're probably extending Donovan Peoples-Jones this offseason. Like you're
That makes
probably
sense.
getting a new contract there, and he's going to probably hover around 10 million. So if that's the case, I love Hayden Hurst. I just don't see it. I just don't see them making the
Yeah.
money work, and I think it's like that overall.
I would like it too, but that's one of those positions where I just don't think, it's unfortunate that the Browns didn't get to take better advantage of the time where they really could just basically do what Philadelphia is doing right now and not spend money on the quarterback and have just a roster top to bottom that is crazy. They just weren't able to take advantage of it in the same way. And I mean, it's something that every team gets to this point, right? Like eventually Philadelphia is going to pay Jalen Hurts and Cincinnati will pay Joe Burrow and LA will pay Justin Herbert and all. And so once your quarterbacks get expensive, you see situations where, on the other side of this, because everybody worries about all this money, right? But Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are back in the Super Bowl. And obviously Patrick is an alien and can carry a team better than anyone can. But I'm just saying that there at least is evidence that even though you pay your quarterback and even though you're putting all this money there, that is still a formula that can get you to the Super Bowl. So I guess I've seen a lot of worry about that, like basically just that how much Deshaun makes, and obviously there's all this stuff about the guarantees and the contracts the Browns are handing out. But I do think that they have this period of time here where all the Browns can have these guys that make all this money and they still can be successful. But my theme that I was alluding to is basically just that we're looking for bargains. We're out here bargain hunting and free agency. That's, we've talked some sexy names like Deron Payne, but I didn't go that way. I actually went with Fletcher Cox, who actually might be more expensive than I had initially thought when I listed him here, because Fletcher Cox is 32 years old and he's about to play in the Super Bowl. Played the full 17-game schedule, had 7 sacks at 32 years old, 43 combined tackles, 23 solo, 14 quarterback hits at 32 years old. If the Browns could get Fletcher Cox somehow, pry him away from Philadelphia, I'm not sure what the likelihood of that, because he's been there a long time. That's a guy that I would love to. I mean, that is just mean defensive tackle playing. The Browns need that so bad, and especially from a team that's been that successful with him. Still playing. I think they could potentially put him in a situation where maybe he wouldn't have to. Maybe they could lighten his load at least a little bit, and he could say, because obviously as you get older, you're going to be able to take a little less. So I think if they combine with the next guy I'm going to give you, you could be in a good situation. So Fletcher Cox is my number 3.
Interestingly enough, when you talk about some of these guys, some guys that you can link yourself to, is these guys in Philly and Tennessee. Just because Jim Schwartz recently, of course, coming this year from Tennessee, but having been the defensive coordinator before this season for Philly, there is a lot of guys that are over there that he has that sort of connection, that have the experience in his scheme, or the guys that could come to town and do that sort of thing. And you're like, this could happen. Like, you can make this work, I think. And it could be really interesting. We had a question in the comments real quick I wanted to address real quick before we move on to the list, asking about Tierra Tart. I love Tierra Tart a lot. He's a restricted free agent, not an unrestricted free agent. So you get into it depends on what they offer him. You may have to give up draft compensation and some things like that. And I just don't see Andrew Berry going for that. Although I think Tierra Tart is a really nice player. So I will say that I do think he is a really nice player. Next is I'll go with another fat guy. We're doing fat guys here. I've got the other guys going on there. It's a former New York Giant, Dalvin Tomlinson, the defensive tackle 6. This is where I get real excited. People of this show know that I like some big old fat dudes in the middle of my line. And Tomlinson comes in at 325 pounds. And this is the best part about Tomlinson. He's a better pass rusher than he is run defender at 325 pounds, which is just like, that's not supposed to. He had 29 pressures last season, 29 pressures, 3 sacks, 24 stop tackles. Again, probably as many stop tackles as the Browns defensive tackles had overall. He had a 79 pass rush grade last year for Minnesota. a 77 overall, only a 63 in run defense. But you know what? That 63 in run defense is a lot better than they had run defense last year, so I'm not really worried about that. I don't like that to be the case. But you know what, man? We're just trying to raise the bar a little bit. As long as we can raise the bar a little bit, we're trending in the right direction, and we can get this thing going, okay? Yeah. So Dalvin Tomlinson, former Giant, one of my best friends is a big Giants fan, and he was very upset when they let him go, former second-round pick in 2017 from Alabama. But I think Tomlinson is definitely, again, another guy I'm not sure is going to blow you away with how much money he needs. That's the rising theme. Again, Nick said it. We're bargain hunting. I wouldn't even necessarily say we're bargain hunting as much as I'm just saying being responsible with free agency dollars because of where you are and the overall outlook and moving forward. That is going to happen. But 325 pounds, stick him right in the middle. I wrote an article and I said this about, I was reading this article that I had written for Browns Wire talking about some of these free agents. And I wrote this about Sheldon Rankins the other day. I said, he's not a superstar, but if you put him in the middle of this line, he would instantly be the best defensive tackle on the roster. And I think that goes for Dalvin Tomlinson as well. And I don't even think it would be close.
It is no surprise that both of us are spending 4 of our picks so far. No, we have 5 now.
I don't have any more. That's my last fat guy.
Okay. Well, I'm using another pick on the defensive line and another old friend. If you're looking for consistency at tackle, it's not flashy. It's not the sexiest thing in the world, but it's consistent. It's reliable. Those characteristics belong to Larry Ogunjobi, who spent some time in Cincinnati, actually played pretty well for them. That was 2 years ago. And in Cincinnati, Larry had 7 sacks, which was a real big blow-up year for him because his previous 2, he had 5.5 twice with Cleveland. He had 7
screwed though that one time. You remember those sacks that kept getting called back against it was that game they lost to New Orleans during Hughes' year. He should have had like 4 sacks in that game. He only got like 1 because they all got called back.
Oh my God. Yeah. Larry should have had I remember tweeting Larry should have had a hat trick.
Yeah, he did.
And he did that like celebration with the hat and the bow.
And they're like, nah, dog.
And you know what? And so, yes, Larry was not as good in Pittsburgh system, but still played all the games, avoided injury, still had 48 combined tackles, 25 solo, 23 assists, 7 tackles for loss, and 11 quarterback hits. I know I'm just listing the stats here, but I think the Browns really had a just nicely consistent play out of Larry Ogunjobi. And I think, not every tackle addition they have is going to be the sexiest. I think they just need consistently reasonable play. And Larry Ogunjobi absolutely fits that bill. I don't think he's going to be massively expensive. I think he's signed back-to-back 1-year deals with Cincinnati and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and he had that really weird. So he signed that big deal with Chicago and then failed the physical this year.
Yeah.
So that may have been where the 1-year deal kind of came this year in Pittsburgh. I guess I don't know. I would be fine with Larry. I have no qualms with Larry. I did have qualms when they let him go because I just didn't think he was up to the challenge. But now the room is so bad that he would raise the basement. I don't know how high he raises the ceiling, but he definitely raises that damn basement. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking to do here because I know, you're probably maybe the Browns, in my opinion, the Browns can make like one splash defensive tackle addition, and the others are going to have to be guys that like Malik McDowell and Malik Jackson, who weren't these all hailed signings, but were really consistent for you. We gave you solid play. I think that's what the Browns are going to be looking for the majority of these additions, and so Larry Ogunjobi is that to me.
There was a question about Malik McDowell. I don't know, man. I mean, they could kick the tires on him, but I have no idea what's going on with that legal situation. So it's all going to be about that. That's the only thing. I'm going to go. You know what? I forgot I did this. I will go with a Browns reunion.
Ooh.
I will go with a Brown. I forgot this guy was on my list. I really didn't.
All right.
I looked over at it and I was like, oh God, yeah, let's do that. It's funny. Matt just asked a question about it too. Check this out. What do you think the Browns do at safety if they cut JJ3? Well, you're about to find out.
Oh.
It's funny that he typed that and hit enter when the guy I'm about to talk about is a former Browns safety, Jordan Poyer.
Wow.
Jordan Poyer was one of my favorite Browns. He wasn't a phenomenal player in Cleveland. He blossomed into a really good all-pro up in Buffalo and Sean McDermott's scheme. Do you remember how his career ended in Cleveland? He had a lacerated spleen or his kidney or something like that? He got hit and like had an organ damage or something like that. So he ended up being on IR for the rest of the year, and then he leaves after that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember it being one of those things where he like was really hurt, and I was like, oh my God, I just remember vividly when that happened. It's probably a large. It's like Matt says, JJ3 gets cut. Maybe they don't get Bates. I think they'll pursue Bates. I think they will cut JJ3. Interesting tidbit. I wrote this up on Browns Wire. I was going through. Mary Kay drops these little nuggets. She's so good. This is why she's been around for so long. She's so great at this. That in the middle of there being nothing to talk about in terms of actual news, she drops this. The Browns may try to restructure JJ3. And I'm like,
whoa.
And we always knew that was a possibility. Like, I think the one thing we knew about JJ3 was he's not back on his current contract. I think we all knew that. And so now they're like, it's going to be up to Jim Schwartz, but they could be looking to restructure him. And I wrote this up because that's really the first I heard of it in any serious connotation. Of course, people throw it out there and they say this all the time. People can hate on Mary Kay all you want, but man, she's right most of the time. And the problem is people hate on her because she just doesn't always say what we want to hear. But man, I know
restructure.
Listen, if Schwartz says he can fix it, then I'm willing to give him a shot. I don't know, but that all comes to what's the restructure look like? What does it look like? Because, and people say this all the time, well, it's not your money, you're not spending it. No, but if money goes there, it can't go here, right? So you're not really sure where it needs to go. So it's all about where that number comes in. If he comes in around 6, if the cap hit is 6, yeah, I'd keep him because I still think you can add another safety because they need a deep free safety period. I think Jordan Poyer could be that guy. But I don't know. It depends. It's a really fun exercise that we get to do in the Aussies. And Matt said, as soon as I said former Brown, he knew it was going to be Poyer. I love it. It was perfect timing. MC that says that Mary Kay is awesome. I agree. But Nick, there's something eating at you. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know what? I haven't tweeted this out, but I was thinking about it. I watched all the episodes of Building the Browns multiple times. I eat that stuff up.
Did you watch the last one?
No, I haven't seen it.
I couldn't bring myself to watch it.
I need to see it. I haven't yet, but I remember when the Browns acquired John Johnson III, and there's this clip of him. He's talking to somebody, and he's just like, "I want to be the best. We're gonna be the best." And he's like, we're talking John Johnson's leadership. He's from the best secondary in football, and then he made some comments about the organization at the end of last year, and then this year there's that video about the coaches need to motivate the players or whatever. I just it didn't sit well with me. It didn't sit well with me like the way he it seemed like he was blaming Joe Woods for his efforts because he was one of them, one of the players on the Browns from this last year where you look at the clips and you say, the effort might not be there. That it might look like John Johnson doesn't want to make that tackle. And like that type of vibe, I just want to be gone out of the locker room.
And I hear you and I agree. I'm just saying that when Mary Kay said it, I was like, it kind of makes sense because when they got Jim Schwartz that there was rumors of that John, like a lot of people, a lot of Browns analysts and talking they may think that the scheme being fixed, so to speak, the scheme changed to Schwartz, it may be better. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? Like I've heard a lot. Like he may be better in this scheme. It may have been Joe Woods' fault, whatever it is. But it's just like, and Andrew brings up the Twitter wars and stuff with him, and him going, "Listen, like me and Roberto, we don't get along anymore." But like, dude was like came at him multiple times, and I'm just like, be a bigger man, like that. Like Roberto's name on Twitter has literally got shenanigans in it. So, and you're arguing with him, who do you think looks like an idiot? I promise it's not the guy with shenanigans in his name. It's the professional athlete that's arguing with the guy with shenanigans in his name. So anyway, interesting question here. Is JJ through restructuring and Poyer signing giving up? Not at all. Different position. Delpit is a box safety, a forward-facing safety. John Johnson the third is as well, but Poyer is a deep safety. You're looking for the safety that is going to be brought in is finally going to be a true free safety. They haven't had a free safety in like 4 years. That is what they're going to do. Delpit, by no means, I cannot see in any way, shape, or form that free agency will affect Grant Delpit, because I think the back half of last year and Grant Delpit, as he finally got his feet under him, I think he was really, really good, and I think he would thrive in Jim Schwartz' scheme. It's a great question, but I'm looking for a deep free safety to go with Delpit, and then maybe John Johnson being out there if he's still here in 3 safety sets, that sort of thing. But I don't think John Johnson's here next year.
Okay. I mean, you know what, Jacob, you could talk
me
into
a lot.
it.
I'm sorry. I said a lot.
No, it's okay. You could talk me into John Johnson if Schwartz believes in him. You could talk me into it, I guess.
I'm going to be mad about it, though. I'm going to be grumpy about it. I might talk you into it, but I'll be like this.
You know what? Like it felt for a brief bit, like when the Browns signed Jadeveon Clowney after he had that really bad year in Tennessee, and he has 9 sacks, 9.5 sacks, something like that. A great, all productive year. It really felt like the Browns were just doing some things better than other organizations when you can turn around a player like that. And I'm not saying John Johnson is abysmal, but he
was at times.
Well, yeah. And
you can say it, buddy. It's okay.
Yeah, I try not to, but you know what? When you dip into the effort territory, that's the no-go zone for me.
Yeah, that's when I start getting a little upset as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially when you pay him as much, and you know he says he's got all that bluster on building the Browns.
Dude, do you know what I did? And I know you'll forget, but you'll remember this as I told you. The guy that's sitting at the table just drinking the coffee and it says something changed my mind.
Yeah.
So I made a meme in the summer of 2021 or whatever, I think it was. And I was like, God, I don't even want to admit this anymore. So because we've got a lot of new subscribers and stuff. And if you are here and you're new to this channel, we love you. Thank you so much. Hit that subscribe, give us a thumbs up. We got all kinds of awesome, crazy shit going on here. I said put John Johnson III is the biggest free agent acquisition since '99. Changed my mind. And it was because of the off the field stuff. I was told all this stuff about his leadership that just has, quite frankly, been full of crap. And there were some rumors, and they get brought up again. There are rumors that a lot of people were upset they paid him. A lot of players were upset that he was signed and brought in and paid because some players around the league and in the locker room didn't view him as the type of player that was deserving of that contract, that sort of thing. So,
okay. I got one last. Player.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's up to you for the last one.
A personal favorite of mine, that's been in the league for a little bit now. Now he's struggled with injuries in recent years, but so Sterling Shepard of the Giants briefly
Oh,
came
that's
back this year and got injured again, unfortunately. And so I know that is dicey territory. I understand that. But when Sterling Shepard is healthy, he's a dynamic player. He was doing pretty well in a Giants pass game that desperately needed any kind of weapons. And it looked like he was going to be their wide receiver one last year until he got hurt again. But he still averaged 11.8 yards of reception, which is his third best in his career. So there's some evidence there that he can still play. So if you can rehab again, now that's the big question. But you're talking about actually his rookie year, he had 8 touchdowns, and it's been a long time since then. That was 2016. But
he's been in the league since 20. God, that makes me old.
We're getting old. So I just think if you're looking for a cheaper wide receiver that has a little bit of dynamic playmaking in him, so the question is then, rehabbing again from injury, can that come back once again? But I just think he's a guy that you take a shot on. It's going to cost you very little, and it has a shot to be one of those guys that really contribute for you. I think there's going to be some shuffling at the bottom of the Browns wide receiver room, and Sterling Shepard seems like a little lottery ticket. I don't think you really risk anything by signing him, and he could be good.
Before I got a joke for you.
Okay.
Before I got the last one.
All right.
After an unsuccessful harvest, why did the farmer decide to try a career in music?
In music, I don't know.
He had a ton of sick beats. Ooh, okay, so moving on to my final guy, we'll shift directions, talk a little draft real quickly, and launch into it's summer, or well, it's not summer, but it's the off season, and we're here with top fives each week to enjoy some. The last one I got is very interesting. I wrote this for a piece in Browns Wire about 3 weeks ago or so, and I thought it was very interesting. And it's Denzel Perryman in Vegas, the linebacker, the interior linebacker. I don't know what he's going to cost. I don't know what he's got left. I don't know any of that stuff, but you're looking at an 80.5 run defense grade from PFF last year for Denzel Perryman. He's a massive upgrade. He's a good veteran presence in there. He's a lot better than Jacob Phillips. He's been in the league since 2015. He's a leader. He's got, the experience. He's been out there. If they don't re-sign Walker, I think somebody like Perryman should be in there. And if Walker's not healthy, I think a guy like Perryman is a guy that you should potentially express interest in.
There's at least, the thing I've learned from this, Jacob, is there are a lot of interesting options that the Browns
kinds of them
could explore. I think that's an encouraging thing, because a lot of people have been like, well, how are they going to fix this? How are they going to upgrade it? And when I actually sat down, and credit to Jacob, because he brought the free agency idea to me. And so when I actually sat down and looked through the available free agents, I'm like, okay, there's room to work here.
Yeah, and if a good one that you may check out is PFF did their top 100 free agents, and they did it with some rankings, and they projected the contracts. And I think that's fun because you get Jacoby Myers. I'm not interested in Jacoby Myers, but he's a free agent for the Patriots. They project him at 4 years, $64 million. And so you see Daron Payne, they project at 4 years, $80 million. It's not happening. I want it to happen. I know what he is. I love it. It's not happening. You're not getting that.
It's a lot.
You know what they're projecting? They're projecting Daniel Jones to get $40 million a year.
$40 million a year.
I like Daniel Jones. I don't love him.
I remember when Patrick Mahomes signed that contract, and everyone was like, "Oh my God," because it was like 10 years, right?
Yeah, it was like for $500 million. It was like $500 million or something like that.
And at the time, it was like pretty groundbreaking that he makes that kind of money. But every year that goes by, somehow Patrick Mahomes is becoming a value.
Well, Deshaun Watson's contract's going to quickly, with Herbert's coming up and Burrow are coming up all in the same year. Tua's coming up, all these contracts. Lamar's about to get paid this offseason. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be in Baltimore. I think he's going to get franchise tagged and traded.
Wow.
So you've heard it here. And I'm not the only person, like, that's not an original thought. I've heard other people say that and I agree with it. So it's very interesting. I think a lot of things are going on. Yeah, Matt. I'm with Matt in the comments. If Jones gets 40, Lamar going to get 60. Yeah, bro.
What are they going to say about Deshaun making his money then when all these quarterbacks are out earning him? What are they going to say then?
Well, he's a horrible human being, which is true. But anyway, moving on. Okay, so we'll shift gears, talk a little draft before we wrap this episode 93 up for you. I did a film room on Auburn's Derick Hall that I wanted to talk about a little bit here. I think I'm a little higher on Derick Hall than some people are. I think a lot of people have him probably 3rd or 4th round grade. I got a late 2nd round grade on him right now. And I think it's because I'm falling. And Hurts is getting ready to come up for his contract, as Andrew reminds us in there too. He's going to get paid. See, I heard today that they want to pay Hurts before Burrow and Herbert, and I'm like, yeah, exactly.
That's smart. Yeah,
exactly. Get it in there. Get it in now. Get it in now. I like Auburn's Derick Hall a lot, the edge rusher, just because I look at some of the projections of what he can be more so than what he is right now. So I understand the people that are a little bit lower on him than me. And I'm going to show you guys some stuff here. I did a film room for the Browns, for Browns Wire on this. I threw up a couple clips here that I put together, which, by the way, there are 2 30-second clips in this article. That took me like an hour and a half to put together because you got to find the plays, you got to clip them, put them together, upload them. And I think that is just ridiculous how much time it takes. So this dude is he's got a devastating bull rush, right? And he's got just this, I call him a sudden athlete, right? He's explosive. You're going to see here in a second, I'm going to show you about it. I think it's a 4-play sequence, 4 different plays from him. You're going to see one play where he basically olays the offensive lineman. And by that, I mean, the offensive lineman doesn't even touch him. He just bends around the edge, bursts past him. He does not make the play on the quarterback. I think he either misses it or the quarterback throws the ball. But when you're looking at players like this, you're trying to see traits and abilities that can be developed, right? And I think he's got these tools, and I think Alex Wright does too, that Jim Schwartz can really, really work with. I think Jim Schwartz can be to the defensive line what Bill Callahan is to the offensive line. That is truly what I think can happen in Cleveland. So, but you're going to see this guy is just ridiculously explosive. He's got a nice bull rush. He goes back and forth. His problem is his technique. He lets linemen get into his body and control him and just move him around far too much. The dude's got like 34-inch arms. Freaking use them, dude. And he doesn't. And I talked to Jeff Risden over the weekend. If you haven't checked that out, that's on YouTube as well, talking about the Senior Bowl. No, he's like, if Derick Hall doesn't win on his first move, it's over. He's probably not going to win at all because that's just kind of what happens. And I completely agree with it. But I think that there's a lot of really nice explosive and power combinations to what Derick Hall is able to do. So I'm going to show you this 30-second clip montage here of Derick Hall just to kind of highlight it. I'm going to show you a couple of clips here just to show you. I'm going to do one of these each and every week. I'm not sure who's going to be here this weekend. I did do one for, who did I do the week before? Keanu Benton from Wisconsin, the defensive tackle. I like him a lot. In this first play, I don't have Derick Hall highlighted, but he's on the left-hand side. He's going to be to the quarterback's left, to your left, looking at it, is where he'll be in this first clip, and the rest of them he's highlighted in. But I'm just going to show you this real quick of him, and we'll show you some more stuff. But I kind of thought as I do these film rooms that maybe going over some of that here at the tail end of our show each week.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to share this screen here. We're going to do this Chrome tab here. We're going to go over here and we're going to do this here. All right, look at this. Look at that. Look at all this great and awesome. He's going to be right here. So let's check it out. Just look at that. Just goes right around him. Just a little do-si-do. Now this one's pretty fun. This one's fun. He's just going to push the guy. He's literally he trips. If he doesn't trip, now watch this play. This play is freaking ridiculous. Didn't touch him.
Wow.
Didn't touch him. Are you
But he
kidding
got
me?
finished.
Yeah, he didn't finish. He didn't finish. But you look at here.
Speed.
Just look at that. Just pure raw strength in that last one. But his speed and explosion off the line of scrimmage right there is kind of what I've been talking about. But here's a fun thing with him. His run defenses, he sets the edge really well, but he also had a lot of snaps as a stand-up rusher, which we know Jim Schwartz likes. He's up here, as you can see. He's actually going to go into coverage on this play and actually make a pretty good play. And then you're going to watch him set the edge in the run game, and I think he does that really well as well. See him, he's going to drop right back into coverage. He's going to read it. 2-yard gain, right? Okay. Here he comes. Maintain the edge, shed, pursue, bring him down. He's here on your left-hand side there. You're going to just stay on the ground, set the edge, peel off. And that is Derick Hall from Auburn, and a guy that I would like a lot if he's there in the third, and I'd actually be okay with taking him in the second as well.
Okay, in the third
or second. I kind of think he could sneak into the back end of number 2 of the second round.
Maybe the Browns, and it wouldn't be surprising to anybody if they trade down again, right? And then they could position themselves. If you're saying borderline second, third, maybe you move back a bit, pick up an extra pick for your trouble, and then get your guy like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think some of the explosion you see him he just shows you in those couple of clips that there's a lot to like about his pass rusher. So we like to end these off-season episodes doing a top 5, and we are going a little long on time, so we'll go a little bit quicker through these top 5s, but we're going to go top 5 beverages. So Nick, you can start us off with number 5.
Okay, you know what? I just had one of these. It's green. It's loaded with caffeine. It's wonderful. Mountain Dew, number 5. Hello, welcome to you. I can't go wrong with it. I
actually went alcohol in the first one, and I went with a Moscow Mule. Have you ever had a Moscow Mule? The ginger beer, and I learned how to make one in college, and I had this little copper cup, and I don't use it anymore, but a little bit of mint and some ginger beer in there. You got it going on. I like Moscow Mules quite a bit, so that makes the list number 5.
Okay. You know what? Number 4 for me is Corona. You know what? I got a thing for sweet and sour, and I take a lime, put it in the Corona, squeeze it. See, some people just put the lime there and then they just drink it. I can't do that. I'm squeezing that lime or pushing it down in the bottle. It's delicious. It's citrus. It's wonderful. It's Corona.
And in college, we used to do these things with Corona at the bar. They'd pop the top, right? And you take it and you take a little bit of a swig. And then they put a shot of 151 in it and you shake it up like that. Whew.
Okay.
That was one way to guarantee you was going to have a wild night. So
I believe it.
That was, I'm like watching this thing off to the side, and I was getting confused there for a second. Okay, so number 4 is Kool-Aid.
Oh.
And you ask, what Kool-Aid? And my answer is yes. But to be more specific, typically, what's the tropical? It's the blue one, Tropical Punch. Is that right?
That sounds right.
I also really like grape too.
Oh, ooh, great. Okay. All right. You know what? So my mom always used to buy a bunch of Kool-Aid packets, and it would be like my dream to mix like a couple powders together, but she never would let me. So if I wanted to get away with it, I had to do it when she wasn't home, and I'd just make flavors. I loved it. It was so much fun. And sorry, Mom, if you see this, I couldn't help myself.
I used to get in trouble as a kid because I would use my mom's wooden spoons to make Kool-Aid and it would stain it. You're not supposed to do that. So my mom was like, I remember one time she said, if you do this again, I'm going to use it on you. She's like putting the hammer down. You better stop this crap. I've had enough of it. So that was there. So Nick, number 3.
The great number 4. So my number 3 is my favorite pop of all time. It has 23 wonderful, delicious flavors, It is none other than the Dr. Pepper. I can't ever go wrong. It's my favorite pop of all time. It's my go-to. It's delicious. I've backed off the pop. I really so much pop. I used to have so much pop. But had one or two enough cavities to chill out on that. So flossing is important. I wish I could tell my 15-year-old self that lesson. But anyway, Dr. Pepper is my go-to, still is. I don't have any right now. I'm sad. Dr. Pepper.
Sweet tea at number 3. I do like a good hot tea nowadays as I get a little bit older. That is of the unsweet variety, and maybe some chai in there as well. But I'm changing my answer from sweet tea to tea.
Okay.
Because the more I thought about it, the answer was just tea. I mean, you got all these hot, cold, sweet, tart, sleepy time, chamomile. We got all this stuff. We got lemon. Put some little lemon in there when you're not feeling good. It's a very, very versatile drink. So it checks in at number 3.
You know what? So number 2 is going to sound a little familiar to you. It's the Moscow Mule, but it's just the ginger beer. Sorry, I know I said that incorrectly. Ginger beer, I never had it until a couple of years ago. My girlfriend's dad is a big fan of it, and I had it, and it is just, I can't explain what it is I like so much about it. It's just warm and fun, and it's good in the summer. It's good in the winter. It's a beer I could drink all year long. Not sponsored yet, but would love to be. Ginger beer, I love you.
Any of the ginger beers, any of them. Anybody that wants to do it. Yeah, a little bit. Getting a little older, yeah. A little bit. Number 2 is pumpkin spice. So all right. A little bit of the pumpkin spice. It was a hard decision. It was a hard decision to decide between it and what eventually was the number 1 at the very top. But I'm just a basic white girl, and sometimes you got to get down with the comfort, right? The pumpkin spice is comforting. It's usually starting to get cold again. You're like, oh no, it's cold outside. But then that sweet nectar of the gods comes out of hiding, out of hibernation, and says, I got you, boo. And so that's why it makes it up to number 2. It just isn't quite able to do what number 1 did. And we'll get to that in a second. I do
love pumpkin spice. When you get a little twinge of fall, a little cool in the air. Oh, pumpkin spice. But number 1 for me, I have just a tiny little sip. We're not. The angle doesn't work, but I have the tiniest little sip left of my nectar of living, and that is black coffee. No cream. I'm lactose intolerant or some variety of it. It's not fun. No sugar. Like I said, cavity story. See that? We have black coffee. I love it. I can't get enough of it. Everyone looks at me like I'm an alien because I just ordered black. The people at work, I stop at McDonald's every day. I get my $2 large iced black coffee. They know me. It's an addiction. I'm okay with that. I love you, black coffee.
Number 1 is something that I'm not supposed to drink, but I do all the time, and that's Monster. I love Monsters. There is the problem is they keep making new ones, and I gotta try them. And recently, like last weekend, I found Orange Dreamsicle Monster. Like, are you messing with me right now? Like, no, I'm not. I had it, and it was delicious. And sometimes they've got juice, they've got peach tea, they got this really wild watermelon one. Like, it's just, and they got the coffee ones too. Yeah. It's just such a versatile drink, and without it, I may not have some. Yeah. Okay, Andrew's got the Loco Moco. He knows what's up there.
The Loco Moco.
Yeah, the mocha coffee one. That's what he's talking about there. And it's you just can't. It's fantastic.
Okay.
It got me through night shift in the prison. I drank more than I'm legally allowed to tell you when I was overseas, because I don't know how my heart didn't stop. But it's always there to save me when I have not been responsible and gotten enough sleep.
I love it, Jacob.
I think that's a great place to end this thing.
I do too. I love doing these little top fives. I just want to say to everyone, we are slowly but surely, the YouTube views, the subs, the likes, the everything is going up. Thank you for all your support. We're so close to making that push to where we can finally monetize YouTube, and that's going to take Network 216 and all the content we can bring to you guys to the next level.
I just broke something. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. That's okay. But just thank you to all of you for all your support. It's like, Browns content never sleeps. It's amazing. It just tweet all off season long. There's Goku. Poor Goku. He's in. And is that Trunks?
No, it's Goku, but I broke him.
No,
I just knocked him off his pedestal. He's okay.
True story. I just gotta tell this real quick. I got a Goku action figure when I was like 14, 15, and he had like the shirt that would come off, right? So you could like piece it to take it. I lost the shirt, the orange shirt. So now I've just got bare-chested Goku.
Yeah, I've got 2 bare-chested Gokus in here. Actually,
but I need the shirt. Sometimes, what if you just want to be casual? Anyway, this has been episode 93 of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Nick. He's Jacob. Go Browns.
Play Hogwarts Legacy. It's fun.